I'm going to take you through my approach to how I write a Cadel. Notice I say write it, not construct it, because there are different kinds of Cadels and some of them require more construction than they do writing. So I'm going to take you through my approach on how I write Cadels so that you can write them and learn how to implement them in your existing text. Now, of course, I'm going to use a Gothic-based capital for this, and I'm going to also show how I work through figuring out the Cadelic constructions based on those shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a Roman capital because it helps me to get a sense of the balance. So we're going to do an E. And I'm keeping it quite separate. I'm going to make the E a little bit more decorative. So now more like a swash italic. And then I am going to change it into something that is more of a fraktur E. And from there, I can build the outline of what I want. So now that I have that, I'm going to work through some different tools. Now, the idea behind this kind of method is to teach you something that is easier to learn as a Cadel, rather than something that requires a lot of constructions going sort of back and forth on yourself. So things like and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Instead of having to build this kind of structure, which you can then add to. So this is a true Cadel because the construction is continuous. We can add false Cadels to this. So a false Cadel is where you have an appended Cadel, so you have appendages added on top of that. So you can see it's very easy to build these kinds of things, but the idea behind what I want to teach you is this: to write a letter rather than to construct a letter. So now we're going to take that same letter, and of course, you know, it's great to play with them. So I want to play with these letters a little bit. So let's do the same letter, but using so I'm using a Zig Clean Color Real brush. And I'm altering the structure of that shape already. And I'm going to add some more lines into that. Now, of course, with Cadels, you really want to use a broad edge nib. Yes, but not necessarily. So I'm going to use a broad edge pencil. Now with a broad edge, you need a little bit more thinking as you go along. So you'll probably hear me counting a little bit more. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's change it. 11, 12, 13, 14. 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I've used the edge there. Now, realistically, what I should have done at the bottom here is I should have done this, and this is where I count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this tells me I can get away with this because I've left 3 in the middle. And it helps me to keep that internal balance that we see in these kinds of cadels. So once you move to a broad edge tool, the structure of the cadel really changes quite a lot. So there are lots of basic shapes that you can use with a cadel. And I think by far one of the most basic ones is this and this. This and that and this and that. Now, obviously it's getting more complicated, which is what cadels tend to do. You can have a double shape. So I'm calling this a double shape because the center is different from the outside. And you can add different types of flourishes, cadelic flourishes, to this shape, so that the cadel is really only on the outside. Now, for these kinds of letters, you can see that this is the heaviest. So if we did a letter L, that's the L. So this addition here is an addition, but it tells you that these two strokes need to be similar. So I would need to double this up so that it has the same strength as the rest of as the vertical. Now, can add appendages into that, and you can flag it. And obviously, I could just be here for hours, right? And so that sort of gives you a little bit of a feel for cadels, for some of the things that you can experience with them, some of the ways that you can experience writing them, as well as some of the frustration. It's all about, for me, I find it's all about counting. And as I write them, I come down, and doing one side is fine, but it's when you have to mirror it that I find the counting really helps, because each width is a count. As you go across, you count 1 and 2, and sometimes I press just a little bit to go to 3, and then 4 to 5 is where that I would interchange. So that little bit of weight on the 3 tells me, oh, I'm here. So aim for me So that's how I approach the building of my written Cadels, rather than sort of constructing it and making it feel a little too mechanical.